Welcome back to the Ain't a Court Show. I'm your host, Mr. B. Today we have an exciting show for you. In this segment, we are going to react to a Kevin Samuels interview clip of a modern woman blaming men for her attitude. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into it.
In this moment, I cannot say what's wrong or right.
Hello. What can I do for you?
Okay, so can I ask my question?
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, Kevin, I don't know if it's me or the men that I'm dating, but they kind of make it seem like my attitude is like a bit difficult.
Okay.
But I'm not really sure if I have like an attitude problem or I just have like low tolerance for BS.
How old are you?
I just turned 27.
27.
Mm-hmm.
How tall are you?
Now, Kevin's asking a few questions, but I think it's important for me to point out a couple of things. I think when a show starts off with a woman talking about the feedback she's getting from men is that she has an attitude problem, I think she knows she has an attitude problem. Because you're dating different men and they're all coming to the same conclusion that you have an attitude problem. People are just reading the energy you're putting out into the atmosphere. So when you ask the question as if you don't know that there's an attitude problem, when all the feedback you're getting is that you have an attitude problem, Kevin doesn't need to tell you you have an attitude problem for you to know you have an attitude problem. The Bible says in the mouth of many, that means there's something there. You know what I mean? Like if you're hearing the same thing from a lot of different people, it might be something worth examining. So to me, I just already kind of feel like her answer's been answered. Well, let's see what Kevin takes it.
5'6",
Dress size.
8.
Mm-hmm. How much did you weigh the last time you weighed yourself?
I don't know if you noticed, Kevin was like, mm-hmm. And he immediately proceeded to ask, how much did you weigh the last time you checked? Now, these are sets of questions that Kevin typically asks because he already is skeptical that the person is not being fully honest about, their measurements and things of that nature. So I think he's about to go in.
I'm definitely on a weight loss.
How much did you weigh
right
the last
now.
time you weighed yourself?
So this morning, yeah, it was this morning. I was 189.
Look, man, that's not a dress size 8. I'm an image consultant in real life. Let's try that again. Dress size?
Honestly, I'm not really sure.
So you lied to me.
Whatever.
Yeah.
My
See, I don't like people that just come out and make up stuff. You're 5 foot how tall?
I mean,
You're 5 foot how tall?
I'm 5'6".
Right, 190 pounds. That's yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm being honest, man. If men are telling you you have an attitude, first off, you don't want to be reading the comment section. That's not going to help because I'm having a conversation with you. And what do you mean when guys tell you you have an attitude problem or maybe you just have low tolerance? What do you mean?
I don't know. They just make it seem like I really can't take a joke, or I just tend to have like not the best patience. But basically, they just make it seem like I'm the issue. But sometimes I just really feel like I know I have things I need to work on, but I just feel like sometimes they're just like not man enough.
To him.
Okay, so a couple things that to me kind of triggered the need to respond. So she said she has a low tolerance for certain types of men. These are the men that she's choosing to date, right? These men aren't like assigned dates for her. Like if that man asked you out and you agreed to the date, that means there's something about him you liked. Was attractive enough for you to at least take the date. Now, in taking the date, if you're giving the impression on the date that you would rather not be there, that's going to reflect in your attitude towards the date. Or if there's some things you don't like, in the way you're showcasing that, you know, people read body language, and if your body language or your demeanor is saying something to the person that you're dating, then it's going to communicate that maybe you don't want to be there, and a man doesn't necessarily want to be around somebody who doesn't want to be there. Now, when Kevin asked her, pressed on that specific point, she sort of went into defensive mode, and she was like, oh, they're saying I can't take a joke, but it's like, you know, it's almost like this, you don't really get the sense that she's really examined herself to see in what areas could she lighten up or loosen up a little bit.
How do you?
Yeah, like, but the thing is, like, I know I have things to work on. Like, I know I need to work on my patience and maybe my attitude a little bit.
Who do you live with?
I live alone.
I don't know why women feel like somebody has to put up with your attitude. Well, I don't know why ladies, like women in general, or in particular, why should anybody have to put up with your attitude?
That's a good point.
I'm seriously, I'm being dead honest. And what state do you live in?
I'm in Kansas.
Kansas. It's good to, you know, think highly of yourself, but I'm going to ask you a hard question. Do your attitudes match your looks?
I think so.
Okay. Where would you rank yourself, scale of 1 to 10? You can't use 7, just right here.
Well, I'm really natural now, so I would say an 8.
An 8?
I mean, I'm being honest, yeah.
And when you're made up, where would you put yourself?
A 9.
So you put yourself up there with Beyonce and Kelly Rowland.
In my opinion, yes. I mean, I know like beauty is not.
No, beauty is very formulaic. It's not that subjective. See, women who tend to have attitude problems tend to overvalue themselves. That's why I went directly into something you can't lie about: your height, your weight, your dress size, your looks. See, those things are static. And what you told me is by 5'5", 190 pounds, you're not hot enough to have an attitude. And to rate 8 or 9, you can walk out into the world and nobody. If somebody put you in a line next to Beyonce and Kelly Rowland, age adjusted, there's no way that they would say you all look like y'all match.
That is kind of true. Now, this is a hard to learn. There are certain things that people get away with that others can't, and it's called favor, right? Let's be totally honest. There are some guys that are built like, you know, like athletes, you know what I mean? And they're attractive guys. And so there's certain things that they may be lacking that women will be willing to put up with because they're very attractive guys that other women want. Right? So for a guy who's not as physically attractive as this particular guy is, he won't get away with the same things, even though he may have some other attributes that, you know, makes him desirable. There are some guys that their attribute is that they're really well paid. They have a lot of money. And so women start to tolerate certain things from them because there's a lifestyle that they would potentially lose out on. So they look the other way because they don't necessarily want to lose the lifestyle. They're really that into the guy, but what he brings to the table is appealing to them. So they compromise themselves and their happiness for the sake of the lifestyle because they would rather be miserable in a mansion than be miserable in the projects. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, women will tolerate different things. And that's the same thing that Kevin just brought up here. He just said, you know, sometimes people do have a high estimation of themselves, which is why it's important to be humble. When you think you're the shit, you think your shit don't stink, you know, when you think, you know, you are not just the prize, you're the table, you don't think you know, people should feel a way about the attitude you give them because you think you're hot enough to pull that off. Now, certain models can do that because whether it's that guy or the next guy, there will be someone in line willing to take the journey just so they can, you know, get what they want out of the situation. They'll tolerate it for a little bit. If she's a little needy and she, you know, she needs a bag, and, you know, there's certain women that, you know, guys is like, I'll pay for the bag. It is what it is. I'll take her along on the trip. Okay, I'll pay a couple bills. You know what I mean? Because they're like, this chick is fire. She's dope. But if you kind of an average lady and you think you're like supermodel status and you're giving supermodel attitude when you don't have supermodel looks, that's the point that Kevin, I think, is trying to make here. Now, that does not mean that women should think lesser of themselves. I think every woman should think that they're a prize to somebody, that they're worthy. But I think part of being humble means that you don't overestimate your worth. Jesus himself never overestimated who he was. And he was literally the Son of God, right? Willing to wash people's feet, you know what I mean? Because he wasn't like this grandiose figure. He was like, I'm here to serve you, let me serve you. Whereas a lot of women take the position of, a man needs to serve me. So I am the prize. And if he wants, but, you know, what you bring to the table comes standard on every package, really and truly. Only a select few guys, especially if they got things going for themselves, will put up with certain things. And what he's trying to expose is that guys with options are not putting up with your attitude. It's not happening because they can replace you with somebody of value, if not better. And the cost of their peace is not something that they lose, you know, in exchange for the time spent with you, right? So most guys ain't going to do it. Most guys with things going for themselves. Now, if it's a dude who's desperate, he just came out of jail or something, you know what I'm saying? The dude, you know, doesn't have a means to really provide for himself, and you're his lifeline because he's living with you. He needs you to essentially get back on his feet. That dude might, you know what I mean, like really play up to it because you're critical to his existence to some extent. But if it's a guy who's, you know, got some things going for him, he doesn't have to be perfect, but he's got some things for him going for him, then, you know, he can articulate and put himself together well, then he's got other options because the ratio is really in the men's favor. There's more women who are single and looking for a partner than there are men who are single and looking for a partner. Right? So really the leverage lies more on the guy side than the women.
You can't honestly believe that. You nod your head saying yes you do or no you don't.
No, I understand what you're
But
saying.
I'm asking, what do you think?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
If I were able to take Beyonce and Kelly Rowland, age adjusted, and put you all side by side, people would not say you all look like you match. They would say this one is better than that one's better than this one, and this one does not match.
I understand.
But do you agree or disagree?
Okay, Kevin. So, like, I know you want me to just answer the
Well,
question.
if you give yourself an 8, 9, or 10, that's pretty, beautiful, or gorgeous. If you're an 8, what is Beyonce?
Beyonce is definitely very gorgeous. Like, I obviously know.
Okay,
I
but what is she though? Is she a 9, a 10, 12? What?
she's a
All
10.
right, she's a 10. You're an 8. Then let's see. Who could I use? What would K Michelle be?
You said K
Mhm.
Michelle. I would say like a 7 or 8.
What would Fantasia be?
Well, Fantasia, in my opinion, I would say maybe like a 6.
So you look better than Fantasia, and you are.
I don't know what Kevin's seeing. I'm not a big fan of Fantasia's look. She's probably a very attractive lady by the metrics he's using. Not my necessary cup of tea. K. Michelle's okay too. She's cute. I mean, I'm not stopping my life to go after K. Michelle. You know what I mean? Beyonce might be a different look. Kelly Rowland, I think, is decent. I think her and Beyonce is around the same levels. But that's all subjective depending on the man making the judgment. That's not to say this lady's not pretty. She's probably pretty to somebody. But clearly she's not pretty enough to anybody to put up with her attitudes. That's why she's on the show. So, I mean, I think her answer is being provided to her. You know what I mean? Certain men, just because you're pretty, is not going to let you be disrespectful or annoying to be around. And they're just not going to put up with it. So, pretty is not enough.
You look better than K. Michelle.
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, Kevin, you're asking me.
I need, okay, but what I'm asking you to, what I'm trying to understand is I'm asking if you have any humility, an accurate estimation of what is. And you have proven, even by whether you agree with my skills or not, you ranked yourself higher than K. Michelle and higher than Fantasia. You ranked yourself a shade below Beyonce. And you were nowhere close to being, you're not hotter than any of those women. And you damn sure your figure, come on, we know that needs work. Why is all this important? Because if you people who actually are humble don't have a lot of impatience or low tolerance of people. But people who think they're more than they are, I mean, you may be this, I don't know, maybe you're in Peoria, I don't know what part of Kansas you're in, but maybe you're hot for that part of Kansas.
I mean, I've definitely traveled.
Well, then you should have a better estimation of yourself.
And I mean, I primarily only date Black men.
It has nothing to do with this dating Black men. Your question came in saying that people told you that you have an attitude. And I'm trying to understand, what is it based on?
That's a great question. I honestly, if I had to say what my attitude is based on, I would say my past, and it's not an excuse, but I'm definitely still trying to.
No. Your attitude for being low tolerance with other people.
I think you're trying to get me to say because I'm not good looking enough.
Well, how about you know what? Don't try to figure out what I'm trying to get you to say. If I want you to say something, I'll ask the question. I'm not trying to get you to say anything other than what you really think. I don't know why people, I think you're trying to, what is this? Oh man. Well, here's the net of it. If your attitudes give you problems, then even the guys in Kansas are telling you to give you problems, then you need to change something. But oftentimes when women or people have an overinflated estimation of themselves, they tend to not have much tolerance for other people. And based on what you told me, you have an overinflated sense of yourself.
Can I ask you what makes you think that?
You're 5'5", 190 pounds. And you're cute, but you're nowhere close to being an 8. That's not rude. If you went out for an audition to be a model, right? I don't know if you or anybody in the audience has ever done this. But if you guys think what I'm saying is tough, go out to a cattle call where they say, we're looking for the prettiest girls in town, and watch. Have you ever watched American Idol?
Yes.
And have you ever seen some of these people on American Idol and you're like, these people cannot sing. But they got up there anyway. But then there are people who didn't think they could sing and they could blow. It's the same way with looks. You get a bunch of women in anywhere, and there are women who think too high, not high enough. But when you get in there with people who judge looks for a living, they go through a very formulaic way of looking at things. And if you think I'm tough, especially if you're going to do modeling work, they would say, come on in. Okay, strip down to your underwear. And they will begin to, this is wrong, your hair's wrong, you need that thing out of your nose, or you got a pimple there, or your elbow's out, look at her toe. No, that's not right. A lot of people can't handle it.
That's true. You know, sometimes that's the best way that you can kind of get people to acknowledge where they are. If you went on a major modeling audition for, say, a brand like a Victoria's Secrets, what do you think those evaluators are going to tell you? You know, that's going to really sometimes set the record straight. You know, there's very few, it's a very, very, very particular type of woman that they look for to represent brands like that. That's not to say that you can't be suitable to represent other brands or do commercials and things of that nature. There might be opportunities out there, but what he's saying is, you know, this is a way to gauge, not just from his word, but what is the general public who does this for a living, what feedback are they giving you? And I think that is probably more of a humbling statement for her than anything else.
They could not handle being scrutinized from head to toe. Just because when you're judging people's looks, you have to be honest with what you see, because this is going to be put before everybody else. The thing is, you may not be fit ready to listen to that level of honesty, but in the world, it's not much different. People are just polite. Now, imagine how somebody walking into American Idol, or somebody who really thinks they're talented, who can rap, I can rap, I can sing, I can whatever. You ever seen somebody jump up like they really had talent, and you're like, oh my God, they're no good, but you couldn't tell them shit. That's how a lot of women are with their looks. They really believe this shit until somebody sits down and says, you are not talented. You can't sing, you can't dance, that's trash, that's garbage. Because they have told themselves that there's something. What happens with many women today, why you feel like you're dating down, is the Western world has not given women an accurate estimation of yourselves. We've removed competition. We've removed beauty standards. We don't want to judge. We got 350-pound women on the cover of Cosmopolitan. So it makes sense to me that ladies are having a problem estimating themselves, and it's frustrating to a lot of women, because if you think you're here, then you want outcomes that are up here. But if you're getting outcomes that are down here, that means what? Oh, there's just something wrong with the market. No, it's because you're down here. That's what tends to cause a lot of disconnect. That's why I started right where I started. If you're saying these are the issues you're having with men, they're saying you're this or that, it's because it tends to be with women, because you think you're up here. And because if you had respect for these guys, you wouldn't talk to them that way. True or false?
That's true.
So anybody in the comments thinking I'm just being harsh or mean, no, there's always a reason. Become more realistic about who you are. I'm not saying you're an unattractive woman. I'm saying, you know, I think you rank yourself high. And when you start estimating yourself easier, it's a hell of a lot easier for you to be reasonable and patient with other people. Does that make sense? All right. Have a good night.
Okay. The one thing I have to give the young lady is she did allow Kevin to speak. A lot of times women don't, especially when he's being critical of them. So I give her that. You know, she at least listened. But he did say something, you know. I mean, to summarize the video, he said, you know, when you have a high estimation of yourself, you see everybody else is beneath you in a way. And obviously, if you don't respect somebody, then it's going to show in how your attitude is towards them. So start there. I think that's a gem. I think we should start by always taking a humble approach of who we are. We're all flawed. We may have some attributes that works in our favor, but we all got our flaws. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is respecting yourself means knowing how to show respect to other people. Even if you're not attracted to someone and they're not your particular cup of tea, that does not mean that you need to have an attitude as if you're too good for them. And I think that's what a lot of men is starting to pick up on. It's the sense that she's, better than them. And, her attitude towards them reflects that she has this high estimation of who she is. And in reality, she's just an average girl, right? Like most of us. I'm an average guy, right? In terms of, who I am. And, for some people, they might have a different perspective of me and others may have a lower perspective of me. But having a healthy sense of who you are is what's important. I think this was good advice. Obviously, Kevin's the father of a daughter. I'm sure this might be a similar conversation he would have with his own daughter, or most fathers would have with their daughters who are at least reasonable. And I thought this was some gems in this. This is one of the many things that, a lot of times it gets overlooked about Kevin Samuels, because he gets the monetizable viral clips where he's saying, being critical and being loud, or not necessarily being loud, but kind of going off on a young lady, because that's the energy they brought into the conversation. But this demonstrates that when a person is, genuinely curious and has questions, he remains controlled, measured in his response, and he's always willing to teach. So I think this was a great exchange. This is a younger lady. I think she's in 28. Kevin's obviously in his late 50s, mid to late 50s. And it's almost like she's having a conversation with a father figure. And I think, to me, that needs to happen, right? Where they're getting the feedback, not just from other women, but also from men who may be, like a father figure to them. So that was my take on this. I hope you guys found some value out of what I had to say about this video, but I also invite you to weigh in on the conversation. If you're not already a subscribed member, like and subscribe, stay connected, let your voice be heard, leave your comments, and share the video. Hopefully it's useful to some of you guys. Again, I pray for all my viewers that, you are getting something out of the videos that is encouraging you or being constructive towards your development. And, I ask for you. So that being said, thank you for joining us. And until we meet again, God bless.